Constipation is not just a minor inconvenience. It's a silent enemy that sneaks into the lives of people over 60, draining their energy and stealing their joy. Imagine waking up every morning with a heavy, bloated feeling in your gut, as if someone had filled you with rocks while you slept. The discomfort doesn't stop there. It lingers throughout the day, making even simple tasks feel like climbing mountains. For many seniors, this isn't just an occasional issue. It's a relentless torment that disrupts sleep, saps vitality, and casts a dark shadow over what should be the golden years of life. But here's the cruelest part. No one talks about it. It's almost taboo to admit that you're suffering from constipation. You sit at family dinners, forcing smiles while secretly dreading the aftermath of the meal. At social gatherings, you avoid certain foods like they're poison because you know how they'll betray you later. And when night falls, instead of peaceful rest, you toss and turn, clutching your stomach as painful spasms wrench through your body. Sleep becomes a distant memory, replaced by endless hours of frustration and despair. Desperation sets in when you try everything: over-the-counter laxatives, herbal teas, fiber supplements, but nothing seems to work long-term. Sure, some medications offer fleeting relief, but they come with a price: cramps, dependency, or worse, worsening symptoms leave you feeling trapped in a vicious cycle. Each failed attempt feels like another nail in the coffin of hope. You start to wonder if this is simply your fate, something unavoidable as you age. But deep down, you refuse to accept it. There has to be a better way, a solution that doesn't involve harsh chemicals or temporary fixes. Little did I know, the answer was closer than I ever imagined. What if I told you that the key to unlocking this prison of pain lies not in pharmacies or doctors' offices, but right in your own kitchen? This realization hit me after years of suffering silently, clinging to the belief that my body would eventually heal itself. Spoiler alert, it didn't. But when I discovered the power of food, the real natural kind, everything changed. My journey toward recovery was anything but smooth, filled with moments of doubt, experimentation, and small victories along the way. Yet looking back now, I can confidently say that these lessons saved my life. In the darkest depths of despair, when all hope seemed lost, a glimmer of light pierced through the suffocating gloom. It was as if fate itself whispered a secret into my ear, one that would change everything. After years of battling constipation and enduring its relentless torment, I stumbled upon something extraordinary. 99% of cases like mine could be resolved simply by eating the right foods. Yes, you heard that correctly. No more expensive medications, no more harsh chemicals torturing your body, and no more nights spent staring at the ceiling in agony. The solution wasn't hidden in some high-tech lab or behind a prescription pad. It was sitting quietly in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. Imagine this: five superfoods, each with unique powers, capable of unlocking the prison bars of digestive misery. These weren't just ordinary foods. They were natural warriors armed with fiber, probiotics, and other magical compounds designed to restore balance to your gut. But here's the twist. These heroes didn't come from some far-off land or require complicated rituals to harness their power. They were already within reach, tucked away in our kitchens, patiently awaiting their chance to shine. Take Enrique, for instance. At 72 years old, he had nearly given up on ever finding relief. His chronic constipation had become so severe that even walking felt like dragging an anchor behind him. He'd tried every over-the-counter remedy under the sun, only to find temporary fixes that left him worse off than before. Then came the turning point, a revelation so simple yet profound that it almost sounded too good to be true. What if the answer lay not in pills or potions, but in food? When Henrique first heard about prunes, he scoffed. How could something so humble possibly work where modern medicine had failed? Yet, driven by desperation, he decided to give them a try. Within days, his world transformed. The heaviness in his gut lifted, replaced by a newfound sense of vitality. For the first time in years, Henrique felt free. And then there was Margarita, whose story mirrored the countless others struggling silently in the shadows. Her life had been consumed by embarrassment and frustration, unable to enjoy social gatherings without fearing the aftermath. She had experimented with countless supplements, only to experience bloating and cramps that made matters worse. Just when she thought she'd hit rock bottom, a friend suggested chia seeds. Skeptical but desperate, Margarita sprinkled a spoonful into her morning yogurt. To her astonishment, the results were immediate. Her digestion smoothed out, her energy returned, and for the first time in ages, she felt like herself again. These stories are proof that the human body is resilient. It just needs the right tools to heal itself. And those tools, they're hiding in plain sight. Picture yourself standing in your kitchen, surrounded by jars of oats, bags of sweet potatoes, containers of kefir, and baskets of dried prunes. Each one holds the potential to transform your life. Oats, with their gentle embrace of beta-glucan fibers, promise to soothe your intestines and keep things moving smoothly. Sweet potatoes, rich in both fiber and water, stand ready to hydrate and nourish your gut. Kefir, teeming with beneficial bacteria, offers a lifeline to those whose gut microbiomes have fallen out of sync. But let me tell you, the journey to discovering these solutions wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, times when I questioned whether anything could truly help. Would I spend the rest of my life trapped in this cycle of pain and discomfort? Or worse, would I become dependent on medications that offered fleeting relief at the cost of long-term health? These fears haunted me, gnawing at the edges of my sanity. But then, piece by piece, the puzzle began to come together. Every bite of oatmeal, every sip of kefir, every prune I reluctantly chewed brought me closer to freedom. The realization hit me like a thunderbolt. The key to escaping the nightmare of constipation wasn't locked away in some distant realm. It was right here, in the food we eat every day. This discovery wasn't just empowering, it was revolutionary. No longer did I feel like a victim of circumstance, tossed around by forces beyond my control. Instead, I became the architect of my own recovery, wielding the power of nutrition to reclaim my health. Henrique's story is one of resilience, despair, and ultimately, redemption. A tale that began in the darkest corners of physical agony. At 72 years old, Henrique had spent countless nights lying awake, clutching his stomach as waves of pain radiated through his body. It felt like his intestines were being crushed under the weight of jagged rocks, grinding against each other with every movement. The discomfort wasn't just physical, it seeped into his mind, leaving him exhausted, irritable, and defeated. He described it as living inside a prison where freedom seemed impossible. Each meal became an ordeal. Even something as simple as drinking water turned into a gamble he dreaded losing. For years, Henrique tried everything modern medicine and ancient wisdom could offer. From prescription laxatives to herbal teas brewed from exotic plants, nothing provided a lasting relief. His bathroom visits became a battleground, each attempt ending in failure and frustration. I felt like my body was betraying me, he confessed during one particularly low moment. Every day was a reminder of how powerless I was over something so basic, something most people take for granted. Desperation clawed at him, gnawing away at what little hope remained. At times, he wondered if this torment would be his fate until the end of his days. Then, like a ray of sunlight breaking through storm clouds, a doctor mentioned prunes, not as a joke or a cliche, but as a genuine solution. Henrique initially dismissed the idea. Prunes? Really? After all he'd endured, could such a humble fruit truly make a difference? Yet, desperation drove him to try anything. With skepticism weighing heavily on his shoulders, he purchased a small bag of dried prunes and decided to give them a chance. The first few days were unremarkable, but by the fourth day, something miraculous happened. Enrique woke up feeling lighter, physically and emotionally. For the first time in years, there was no heaviness in his gut, no ominous pressure building inside him. By the seventh day, his digestive system had transformed into a well-oiled machine, operating with Swiss precision. Bowel movements became regular, predictable, and effortless. That crushing sensation in his abdomen vanished, replaced by a sense of liberation he hadn't known in decades. What struck Enrique most was not just the immediate relief, but the profound impact on his overall well-being. His energy returned, allowing him to enjoy long walks in the park, a luxury he thought he'd lost forever. Sleep, once elusive, now came easily. Even his mood improved. Laughter replaced the constant irritability that had plagued him for years. Enrique realized that constipation wasn't just a digestive issue, it was stealing his life piece by piece. And now, thanks to prunes, he was reclaiming it. Looking back, Enrique marveled at how such a simple solution could have been overlooked for so long. It's ironic, he said, reflecting on his journey. All those expensive medications, all those complicated treatments, and the answer was sitting right there in my kitchen the whole time. He urged others struggling with similar issues to give prunes a chance. Don't let pride or skepticism stop you, he advised. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Henrique's transformation wasn't just personal, it inspired those around him. Friends who had watched him suffer silently began asking about his secret. When he shared his story, they too started incorporating prunes into their diets. One by one, they reported improvements, creating a ripple effect of healing within their community. Henrique often joked that he had become the unofficial ambassador of prunes, spreading the word about their incredible powers wherever he went. In the grand tapestry of health solutions, prunes may seem insignificant, a modest fruit tucked away in grocery aisles. But for Enrique, they were nothing short of life-changing. They didn't just restore his digestion, they restored his faith in the possibility of recovery. And as he stood in his kitchen one morning, savoring the sweetness of a prune, he smiled, knowing that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest power. Margarita's story is one of heartbreak, resilience, and ultimately, redemption. A tale that began in the shadow of isolation and despair. At 69 years old, Margarita found herself trapped in a prison of her own body's making. The culprit, chronic constipation, an insidious condition that had silently crept into her life and stolen not only her physical comfort, but also her dignity. For months, she endured relentless bloating, stomach cramps, and irregular bowel movements. But the worst part wasn't the pain, it was the shame. A foul odor seemed to cling to her like a second skin, no matter how meticulously she bathed or dressed. Friends who once adored her company began avoiding her invitations. Conversations grew shorter, smiles more strained, until eventually they stopped altogether. Margarita felt like a ghost haunting her own life, invisible yet suffocating under the weight of judgment. Desperation became her constant companion as she scoured every possible solution. She spent thousands on expensive medications, pills promising miraculous results, powders claiming to reset her gut, even herbal teas imported from distant lands, all to no avail. Frustration mounted when she turned to extreme diets, cutting out entire food groups, drinking gallons of water daily, even fasting for days on end. Each attempt left her weaker, more defeated, and further from the relief she so desperately sought. Her reflection in the mirror revealed a woman she barely recognized, hollow-eyed, pale, and burdened by a sadness that seeped into her very bones. "I felt like I was dying inside," she later confessed. "Not just physically, but emotionally. I didn't know how much longer I could go on like this." Then came the turning point, a whisper of hope carried by a friend over coffee one afternoon. "Have you tried chia seeds?" the friend asked casually, almost offhandedly. Margarita froze mid-sip, her mind racing with skepticism. Chia seeds? Really? After everything she'd been through, the agony, the humiliation, the financial drain, could something as simple as tiny black seeds truly make a difference? Yet, desperation has a way of bending pride. That evening, she stood in the grocery aisle staring at a small bag of chia seeds. It felt absurd to place so much hope in something so unassuming, but what choice did she have? The first few mornings were awkward. She sprinkled a spoonful into her yogurt, half expecting nothing to happen. But slowly, imperceptibly at first, changes began to emerge. By the third day, her stomach felt lighter, less tense. On the fifth bow, she noticed something astonishing. Her bowel movement was smooth, effortless, something she hadn't experienced in years. And then, the miracle happened. The oppressive heaviness in her abdomen vanished entirely, replaced by a buoyancy she thought she'd lost forever. The foul odor that had haunted her dissipated, leaving behind only the fresh scent of soap and confidence. But the transformation went far beyond her digestion. As her body healed, so too did her spirit. Margarita rediscovered joy in the little things: a warm cup of tea, the laughter of children playing outside, the gentle hum of music on the radio. She ventured back into social settings, tentatively at first, but soon with renewed vigor. Friends who had distanced themselves began reaching out again, surprised by the vibrant woman who now stood before them. "It wasn't just my gut that changed," Margarita reflected. "It was my whole world. I went from feeling invisible to feeling alive again." Looking back, Margarita marveled at how such a small seed could hold such immense power. "If someone had told me a year ago that chia seeds would save my life, I would have laughed in their face," she admitted. "But here I am, proof that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most profound." Today, Margarita keeps a jar of chia seeds prominently displayed in her kitchen, a reminder of the day she reclaimed her life. She encourages others struggling with similar issues to give them a try. "Don't wait until you hit rock bottom," she advises. "Start now. Your body and your soul will thank you." Ja's life had become a prison of monotony and despair, each day blending into the next in an endless cycle of exhaustion and frustration. At 74 years old, he felt like a shadow of his former self, trapped in a body that refused to cooperate. His stomach was a constant source of torment, a heavy weight pressing down on him no matter what he ate or how much rest he managed to get. The bloating and discomfort were relentless, sapping his energy and stealing precious moments with his family. He could barely muster the strength to play with his grandchildren, let alone enjoy simple pleasures like gardening or taking long walks. Each attempt at normalcy ended in disappointment. Even sitting through dinner became a chore as his abdomen swelled with unease. The emotional toll was equally devastating. Ja once prided himself on being the rock of his family, the dependable patriarch who always had a smile and a kind word for everyone. But now he found himself withdrawing from social gatherings, avoiding conversations, and retreating into solitude. I felt useless, he admitted later, reflecting on those dark days. Here I was, surrounded by people who loved me, but I couldn't even give them my full presence. It wasn't just my body that was failing, it was my spirit. For years, Ja tried everything within reach to alleviate his constipation. Fiber supplements? They only made matters worse, leaving him bloated and miserable. Herbal teas? A temporary band-aid at best. Even prescription medications offered fleeting relief while introducing new complications, cramps, dependency, and side effects that left him feeling worse than before. Desperation gnawed at him, a relentless voice whispering that perhaps this was simply his fate, a price he had to pay for growing older. Then came the turning point, a suggestion so simple it almost sounded absurd. During one particularly disheartening visit to his doctor, Ja lamented his ongoing struggles. Frustrated and weary, he half expected another generic recommendation. Instead, his doctor leaned forward and said, "Try eating oats every morning." Oats? Ja raised an eyebrow, skeptical yet intrigued. Could something so ordinary really make a difference after all he'd endured? At first, Ja dismissed the idea as nothing more than a trivial suggestion. How could plain oatmeal possibly compete with the arsenal of pills and potions he'd already tried? Yet, driven by desperation and a flicker of hope, he decided to give it a shot. That evening, he purchased a bag of rolled oats, eyeing it dubiously as if expecting it to perform some miraculous feat overnight. The transformation didn't happen immediately. On the second day, Ja noticed a slight improvement, a faint lightness in his gut where there had been only heaviness before. By the fifth day, the change was undeniable. His digestion smoothed out, his energy surged, and for the first time in months, he woke up without the oppressive sensation of carrying a boulder in his belly. It was as though someone had lifted a veil from his life, revealing colors and sounds he thought he'd lost forever. But the real miracle extended far beyond physical relief. As Ja's body healed, so too did his connection to the world around him. He rediscovered joy in the little things, the laughter of his grandchildren as they tugged at his hands, begging him to join their games, the warmth of sunlight streaming through his kitchen window as he prepared breakfast, the comforting aroma of cinnamon sprinkled over his morning bowl of oats. For the first time in years, Ja felt truly alive again. Looking back, Ja marveled at how such a humble food could hold such extraordinary power. "If you had told me 5 years ago that oats would save me, I would have laughed," he confessed during a family gathering. But here I am today, playing tag with my grandkids and feeling stronger than I have in decades. Ja often shares his story with others struggling with similar issues, urging them not to underestimate the power of nutrition. Don't wait until you've tried everything else, he advises. Start with the basics. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most profound. Today, Ja keeps a jar of oats prominently displayed in his pantry, a symbol of resilience and renewal. And though he still remembers the dark days when constipation ruled his life, those memories are fading, replaced by brighter ones filled with laughter, love, and vitality. Eleanor's life had become a prison of her own making, though the bars were invisible to anyone but herself. At 71 years old, she found herself trapped in a cycle of fear and frustration that dictated every decision she made. The culprit? Chronic constipation, a silent tormentor that had stolen her confidence, her freedom, and her zest for life. For years, Eleanor lived in constant dread of accidents, those unpredictable moments when her body would betray her at the worst possible time. She canceled vacations, skipped dinners with friends, and avoided social gatherings altogether, terrified of being caught off guard. Her world shrank to the confines of her home, where she felt safe but suffocated. It wasn't just the physical discomfort, though that was bad enough. The bloating made her feel like she was carrying a beach ball in her stomach, while the dull, throbbing pain in her abdomen became a constant companion. But it was the emotional toll that cut deepest. Eleanor once loved traveling, exploring new places, and meeting new people. Now she could barely muster the courage to step outside her front door. I felt like I was disappearing, she later confessed. Not just from the world, but from myself. And for years, Eleanor tried everything within her power to combat her condition. She drank gallons of water, swallowed fiber supplements by the handful, and even resorted to over-the-counter laxatives. Some provided fleeting relief, but most only worsened her symptoms, leaving her bloated, cramping, and more frustrated than ever. Each failed attempt felt like another nail in the coffin of hope. She began to believe that this was simply her fate, that she would spend the rest of her life as a prisoner of her own body. Then came the breakthrough, a suggestion so simple it almost seemed too good to be true. A friend mentioned sweet potatoes during one of their rare phone calls. They're amazing for digestion, her friend said casually, unaware of how much Eleanor needed to hear those words. At first, Eleanor dismissed the idea. Sweet potatoes? Really? After all she'd endured, the humiliation, the isolation, the endless experiments with pills and potions, how could something as ordinary as a root vegetable possibly make a difference? Yet desperation has a way of bending pride. That evening, she stood in the grocery store staring at a bin of sweet potatoes as if willing them to reveal their secrets. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but it was worth every moment of patience. On the third day, Eleanor noticed a subtle shift, a faint lightness in her gut where there had been only heaviness before. By the fifth day, the change was undeniable. Her digestion smoothed out, her bloating subsided, and for the first time in years, she woke up without the oppressive sensation of carrying a boulder in her belly. It was as though someone had handed her the key to her prison cell, unlocking the door and setting her free. But the real miracle extended far beyond physical relief. As Eleanor's body healed, so too did her spirit. She rediscovered the joy of living, the thrill of planning trips, the warmth of reconnecting with the old friends, the simple pleasure of walking through a park without worrying about what might happen next. For the first time in years, she booked a vacation, a long weekend getaway to a seaside town she'd always dreamed of visiting. As she strolled along the beach, Feeling the sand between her toes and the sun on her face, she realized that she had reclaimed not just her health, but her life. Looking back, Eleanor marveled at how such a humble food could hold such extraordinary power. If you had told me 5 years ago that sweet potatoes would save me, I would have laughed, she admitted during a family dinner. But here I am today, healthier and happier than I've been in decades. Eleanor often shares her story with others struggling with the similar issues, urging them not to underestimate the power of nutrition. Don't wait until you've tried everything else, she advises. Start with the basics. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most profound. Today, Eleanor keeps a basket of sweet potatoes prominently displayed in her kitchen, a symbol of resilience and renewal. And though she still remembers the dark days when constipation ruled her life, those memories are fading, replaced by brighter ones filled with laughter, adventure, and vitality. Walter's life had become a battleground, a relentless war waged between his body and the simplest pleasures of life: food, celebration, and human connection. At 75 years old, he was trapped in a nightmare that many would struggle to imagine. Chronic constipation had turned every meal into an act of defiance, every bite a potential enemy. For years, Walter lived in constant fear of what might happen after eating. Would his stomach bloat uncontrollably? Would the familiar cramps return, twisting his insides like a vice? Each day felt like walking on thin ice, never knowing when it might crack beneath him. The emotional toll was equally devastating. Walter once loved social gatherings, the laughter, the stories shared over hearty meals, but now they filled him with dread. He avoided parties, skipped family dinners, and declined invitations to barbecues or holiday feasts. I couldn't risk it, he later confessed. Every time I ate something, I felt like I was setting off a ticking time bomb inside me. His world shrank to the confines of his home, where he could control what went into his body, but not how it responded. The isolation gnawed at him, leaving him bitter and withdrawn. Friends noticed the change. Some even stopped inviting him altogether, assuming he no longer cared about their company. What they didn't realize was that Walter wasn't rejecting them. He was protecting them from witnessing his humiliation. For decades, Walter tried everything within reach to combat his condition. Fiber supplements? They only made matters worse, causing bloating and gas without providing relief. Prescription medications? Temporary fixes at best, often accompanied by uncomfortable side effects. Even drastic lifestyle changes, like drinking gallons of water daily or cutting out entire food groups, failed to deliver lasting results. Each failed attempt left him more defeated than before. I started to believe this was my fate, Walter admitted during one particularly low moment, that no matter what I did, I'd never escape this prison. Then came the turning point, a suggestion so unexpected it almost seemed too simple to work. During a routine checkup, his doctor mentioned kefir, a fermented drink rich in probiotics. Walter raised an eyebrow, skeptical yet intrigued. Could something as unassuming as a dairy beverage really make a difference after all he'd endured? Yet, desperation has a way of bending pride. That evening, standing in the grocery store aisle, he stared at a bottle of kefir as if it held the secrets to his salvation. The transformation was nothing short of miraculous. On the third morning after sipping a small glass of kefir, Walter noticed a subtle shift, a faint lightness in his gut where there had been only heaviness before. By the fifth day, the change was undeniable. His digestion smoothed out, His bowel movements became regular, and for the first time in years, he woke up without the oppressive sensation of carrying a rock in his stomach. It was as though someone had flipped a switch, reigniting his body's natural rhythm. Walter described it as being reborn, but the real miracle extended far beyond physical relief. As Walter's gut healed, so too did his spirit. He rediscovered the joy of living, the thrill of accepting invitations, the warmth of reconnecting with friends, the simple pleasure of enjoying a meal without worrying about the aftermath. For the first time in years, he attended a neighborhood barbecue, savoring grilled meats and fresh salads without a second thought. As he laughed and joked with neighbors, he realized that he had reclaimed not just his health, but his identity. Looking back, Walter marveled at how such a humble drink could hold such extraordinary power. If you had told me 5 years ago that kefir would save me, I would have laughed in your face, he confessed during the family gathering. But here I am today, healthier and happier than I've been in decades. Walter often shares his story with others struggling with similar issues, urging them not to underestimate the power of nutrition. Don't wait until you've tried everything else, he advises. Start with the basics. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most profound. Today, Walter keeps a bottle of kefir prominently displayed in his refrigerator, a symbol of resilience and renewal. And though he still remembers the dark days when constipation ruled his life, those memories are fading, replaced by brighter ones filled with laughter, connection, and vitality. Constipation is more than just a physical ailment. It's an emotional battlefield, a relentless tug of war between hope and despair. For those who have faced it, the struggle extends far beyond the discomfort in their gut. It permeates every aspect of life, casting shadows over relationships, ambitions, and even the simplest joys. Enrique once described his battle with chronic constipation as being trapped in a dark labyrinth with no exit in sight. Margarita likened hers to drowning, each day pulling her deeper into isolation and shame. Ja felt like he was carrying an invisible boulder everywhere he went, while Eleanor lived in constant fear of social gatherings turning into humiliating disasters. Walter summed it up best when he said, "It wasn't just my body that was broken, it was my spirit." Yet amidst the chaos and suffering, there is light, a glimmer of hope that emerges not from pharmaceutical miracles or expensive treatments, but from something far simpler and profoundly accessible: food. These five secret weapons, prunes, chia seeds, oats, sweet potatoes, and kefir, are not mere ingredients on a plate. They are lifelines, tools that empower us to reclaim control over our bodies and ultimately our lives. When Enrique discovered prunes, he didn't just find relief from constipation, he rediscovered laughter and vitality. Margarita's introduction to chia seeds transformed her mornings from anxious rituals into moments of calm and confidence. Ja's daily bowl of oatmeal became more than breakfast. It symbolized resilience and renewal. Eleanor's embrace of sweet potatoes freed her from years of fear, allowing her to step back into the world with renewed courage. And Walter, his glass of kefir each morning marked the beginning of a new chapter. One defined by freedom and balance. These stories remind us that the human body is resilient, capable of healing itself when given the right support. But this also underscores a deeper truth. The fight against constipation isn't merely about restoring digestive health. It's about reclaiming dignity, purpose, and joy. Imagine waking up every day without dread weighing you down, stepping outside without hesitation, savoring meals without guilt or anxiety. This isn't just a pipe dream, it's entirely possible with these natural solutions at your fingertips. The journey won't always be easy. There will still be days when doubt creeps in, when progress feels slow or setbacks occur. But armed with knowledge and determination, and perhaps a pantry stocked with prunes, chia seeds, oats, sweet potatoes, and kefir, you hold the power to transform your darkest hours into triumphs. The battle may rage internally, but the victory radiates outward, touching every corner of your existence. So take heart. Whether you're standing at the edge of this labyrinth, unsure how to proceed, or already halfway through the maze seeking clarity, know this: the path forward exists. With these 5 foods as allies, you can rewrite your story, turning pages filled with frustration and fatigue into chapters brimming with energy and optimism. After all, life is too precious to spend trapped in the shadow of constipation. Let these humble heroes guide you toward a brighter, healthier future. If there's one thing the stories of Henrique, Margarita, Ja, Eleanor, and Walter have taught us, it's that constipation is not just a physical ailment, it's an emotional battlefield. Each of them faced their own version of despair, from sleepless nights to canceled vacations, from strained relationships to the gnawing fear of social embarrassment. But they also proved something extraordinary, that with the right tools, even the darkest moments can be transformed into triumphs. Their journeys weren't easy, far from it. They stumbled, doubted, and sometimes felt like giving up. Yet through perseverance and the power of natural solutions, they emerged stronger, healthier, and more alive than ever before. Now it's your turn. Have you ever found yourself trapped in the same labyrinth of discomfort and frustration? Have you spent days, weeks, or even years searching for answers, only to feel more defeated with each failed attempt? If so, we want to hear your story. Share your experience with us. The moments of despair, the turning points, and the victories, no matter how small. Did you try prunes, chia seeds, oats, sweet potatoes, or kefir? Or perhaps you discovered another solution that worked wonders for you. Whatever your journey, your voice matters. Your story could be the beacon of hope someone else needs to keep fighting. But this isn't just about sharing, it's about creating a community of resilience and support. Imagine the impact of knowing you're not alone in this struggle. By leaving your comment below, you're not only unburdening yourself, but also inspiring others who may be silently battling the same issue. Tell us what worked for you, what didn't, and how you finally reclaimed control over your body and life. Was it the moment you first tasted a prune sweetness? The day you sprinkled chia seeds into your yogurt and noticed a change? Or perhaps the morning you sipped kefir and realized your gut was healing? Every detail matters because every story has the power to transform lives. And while you're here, don't forget to hit that like button if you found this video helpful. It's a small gesture, but it lets us know we're making a difference and motivates us to continue bringing you valuable content. Even better, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Our mission is to empower you with knowledge, tools, and inspiration to live your healthiest, happiest life. From digestive health to overall wellness, we're here to guide you every step of the way. Your participation doesn't end here. This video is just the beginning of a larger conversation, a journey toward better health, deeper understanding, and shared triumphs. Together, we can break the silence surrounding constipation and other health challenges. We can inspire each other to take bold steps, make smarter choices, and embrace the healing power of nature. So leave your comment, share your story, and join us in this transformative movement. Because when we come together, there's no challenge too big to overcome. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for taking the time to invest in your health and the well-being of others. And most importantly, thank you for believing in the possibility of change. Whether you're here for the prunes, the kefir, or simply the hope of a brighter tomorrow, know that you're not alone. Let's continue this journey together. One bowl of oatmeal, one glass of kefir, and one story at a time.